Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you're about to hear and see has been done in one take. I'm your host, the One Take Man. Uh, if you're wondering what's with the new getup, I'm doing a little bit of an experiment to see how it is. So if you enjoy it and want to see it, and want to see more of this moving ahead, feel free to let me know. Though admittedly, it'll take a few months for for you to observe the difference, because that's just how my scheduling works. Oh well. Anyway, back on the topic of this video. 40 years ago to the day, the first cinematic outing of the Transformers franchise was released was released in theaters on within the US. I somehow assumed that it also had a TV release beforehand, but I couldn't really find any sources on that. So if anyone is a little bit more knowledgeable as far as that is concerned, please do please do go ahead and let me know. The movie's been produced by Sunbow Productions, Marvel Productions, and Toei Animations, and has been written by Ron Friedman, Nelson Shin, with music by no, it was written by Ron Friedman, directed by Nelson Shin, with music by Vince DiCola. It received mixed critical reception upon its release, and and uh, commercially it failed to make back its production budget. Wikipedia calls it a bomb, but I don't know. I don't think it really failed badly enough to be called a bomb, so I'm not calling it that. Uh, some might say that a movie like that would really be bound to end up in obscurity. However, due to this movie's connection to the broader Transformers IP, as well as the a somewhat strange combination of elements that float into creating this movie, it has instead gained a little something of a cult following, with and a very particular place within cinematic history, so to speak. Given that there are lots of YouTubers from a variety of different from a variety of different YouTube niches who have talked about it from a variety of different perspectives. And now it's my turn to talk about it, simply because. My impressions in summary are, I don't necessarily think there is anything more to this movie than than its initial premise might lead one to assume. If anything, there might actually be a little bit less. While the movie does present a wild ride with plenty of with plenty of unexpected developments and some very interesting twists and turns, I don't really think it has the narrative depth or the thematic cohesion to to where it becomes anything more memorable or more important within within broader cinematic history. Still, if you are looking for a for a fun adventure movie with with a side of 80s cheese, then I think it is fair to say that you will enjoy watching this movie. And now that I've given you my broad impressions, it's time I delve into some specifics. The plot of the movie takes place 20 years in roughly 20 years within the after the movie's present, with a look at another stage of the conflict that defines this franchise, the one between the Autobots and the Decepticons, a conflict which seems to be approaching its conclusion. Over the course of this new development, however, a mysterious world-devouring robot, later revealed to be a transformer, called Unicron, inserts himself into this conflict, scattering scattering both the good guys and the bad guys of this franchise in a variety of different directions. And that in turn leads everyone towards encountering new challenges, new new challenges, new adversaries, and potentially new allies as they seek to mitigate to mitigate or avoid the threat that Unicron poses to them. From a from a what the goal of the movie is perspective, the plot is comparatively quite simple. But from a how does one get to the goal perspective on the plot, there is actually there is actually plenty going on. With, as I've already alluded to, a lot of twists and turns that make for that make for an exciting juxtaposition and an intriguing level of exploration and adventure for for the characters to for the characters to explore. However, these developments don't really have any kind of narrative or thematic ties to them that would really, allow them to stand out in a, in a meaningful manner. You could infer that this movie kind of is a coming of age piece, or otherwise focuses on renewal, but that is more, that is more something that is inferred rather than it being explicit or a now that you mention it kind of deal. It's just it's just things happen and they kind of vaguely gesture towards towards this particular theme, and really most of that gesturing actually comes from knowing the behind the scenes details of this movie. Also, unfortunately, not working in its favor is is the fact that the presentation is marked by a lot of tonal whiplash, especially when considering the scene that has become the most infamous when it comes to this movie. And however, personally, I don't really blame that particular scene for the tonal whiplash, because I actually think that that part of the movie is executed. Is executed quite well, maybe a little bit too well for its for its own well-being. However, rather I point the blame for the tonal whiplash on the very upbeat tracks that are played over the course of the over the course of this movie's action scenes, which ultimately end up blending together and making a lot about this movie not as noteworthy or as memorable as it really as it really could have been. Regrettable, but true. When it comes to characterization, however, I think it is fair to say that this movie fares somewhat better. That is partly aided by the fact that it uses a lot of already established characters who have their own distinctive personalities, intentions, perspectives, etc., etc., allowing everyone to clearly identify them and connect with connect with them and their intentions, and to the point where even if you're not familiar with early Transformers, you still know who's who and what it is that they're and what it is that they're after, and their decisions, for the most part at least, still make quite a bit of sense. There are plenty of new characters within this movie as well, as one might expect, given the given the given the adventure-dominated premise. And I think it's safe to say that most of these new characters do a good job at standing out, at distinguishing themselves over the course of this movie and of the adventure that it depicts. If there is, however, one quite notable exception to that, and unfortunately, that exception is the main character of this movie, the Autobot Hot Rod, who is kind of set up to play an important role within the Autobot hierarchy. However, he doesn't really have the presence or the charisma to really effectively embody his new role. I I can safely say that there is a good reason why Hot Rod Sucks has become has become somewhat of a meme within the Transformers fandom. If we are to look at the new characters of this movie and pick out a standout, it is a safe bet to say that that standout is Unicron himself. Not only because he is the catalyst of this movie's plot, but also because of how the movie itself actually emphasizes him, with the tracks that accompany his presence, with the way in which he is presented all throughout the movie. Not to mention that he is played by Orson Welles in a deceptively good performance, even though it was his last one. All of that really helps to emphasize his presence, his aura, his menace, and that very much helps sell him as the central figure of this story. World building wise, the movie is a little bit more mixed, I have to say. It's more similar to, in that sense, quite similar to the plot. While there are, while the characters do go through a lot of locations over the course of this movie, as more of the setting is explored, I can't really say that there are too many parts of the setting that are interesting in and of themselves. Not particularly, at least not aside from the populations or groups of people that really inhabit them. The one group that I really think would be quite interesting would have been quite interesting for the movie to delve into are actually the Junkions, the ones who live on the planet of junk. Because yes, this is very much still a franchise aimed at children at this stage. So, however, there isn't really much that is done with them, unfortunately. Because this movie, interesting as it may be, it still primarily serves as an advertisement for an upcoming television series or an upcoming new season of a television series, and as such, it has to place breadcrumbs for that television series to follow. It might be fit for purpose, but it still doesn't make for an interesting movie going or movie viewing experience. Overall, while I recognize that there are some interesting parts or intentions that that really govern this movie, I can't help but there's a little bit too much unfulfilled potential here for me to heap too much praise upon it. So my final rating for the Transformers: the movie, as this particular picture has gone on to be known, is a 3 out of 5. And honestly, if I were scoring it for all the proto-fascist BS that is in it, it would probably go a little bit lower. But that's a little bit too movie theory geek of me. So I'm not gonna do that. And yeah, that was my review. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed it, well then please like the video and maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If there is anything you'd like to add, either to the movie itself or to my review of it, that is what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe, and ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. I also have a main channel where I primarily talk about the print medium and selected works therein, a link to which you can find in the description down below, right past my social media links, which I would suggest you check out should you choose to. If, however, my thoughts on the print medium aren't of interest to you, then I suggest you stay on this channel and go through my extensive backlog, where I primarily, looking at the videos I've made, primarily on television and cinema, and they are either reviews such as this one, overviews, or pitches, for a variety of movies, TV shows, etc., etc. Alongside a variety of other topics as well. If that doesn't interest you either, then I suggest you go ahead and do whatever you want the rest of your day, because it is your day after all. And yeah, that was it for me. Until next time, I have been the One Take Man.